Coming up on today's Locked On Dodgers, the first half of the season is over. All-Star festivities are over. No baseball, so we're going to talk about what was best from the Dodgers in the first half, best position player, best pitcher, talk a little bit about the future of the second half, and some of the favorite moments we had in the first half. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Samperio. That's Jeff Snider, and we are Locked On Dodgers. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Make sure to subscribe in all those places so you don't miss a day because you know we're not going to. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered the Dodgers in a variety of different ways. And one of those ways we now cover this team is on this daily Monday through Friday Dodgers podcast, where coincidentally we talk about the Dodgers, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the first half of the season. We're going to talk memorable moments, top players, maybe give some predictions for the second half. We'll see what we get into, but no baseball on Wednesday, which I honestly wasn't upset about. I was recovering from being on my feet for like 10 hours straight for 3 of the last 4 days. So I'm good now. I'm recovered. We're back together, and we're here to talk about the Dodgers, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Just a little preview for the listeners. Tomorrow's episode, we will be talking to Justin from Future Dodgers about the 2022 draft and how that went for the Dodgers. So we will have some draft content for you this week.
Yeah, we will have draft content. I honestly could not tell you one player the Dodgers drafted other than the first round pick. So I'm looking forward to hearing about it from our pal.
They drafted like
there.
850 shortstops. It was weird.
Oh, there you go. All right. All right, Jeff, let's start it off. We wanted to talk through first half, not so much first half MVPs, just kind of top position player, top pitcher, who the Dodgers, really valued from having in the first half. And I feel like there's no wrong answer for both ones, and which is a good thing since we might both have different answers here. So let's kick it off with position player and kind of who was the most or important or whatever you want to term it, position player from the first half that was good for the Dodgers.
Yeah, there are so many possible answers here. And I think maybe this is the easy answer. I think it's got to be Freddie Freeman. He really jumped to the front of that, like he jumped to the front of almost everything in the last few weeks because he has been so good and kind of giving us that. I remember us talking a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, Vince, about how Freddie Freeman was having a solid season, but he hadn't really gotten hot yet. And we were both kind of excited about that fact that he's been this good without being his best. What's it going to be like if he plays his best? And that's what we've seen the last few weeks. And obviously he's not going to bat, 700 or whatever for the rest of the season, like he's been hitting the last couple weeks, but getting that kind of vintage Freddie Freeman the last couple weeks, it kind of pushed him to the front of this for me. And obviously first baseman, it's harder to impact a game on defense, but he does. He's very good defensively. We saw, just in Clayton Kershaw's attempt at a perfect game, there were 2 or 3 plays where the defenders made nice plays, but Freddie Freeman made nice plays at first base, saving them from bad throws. And so that's something he's always been one of the best at. And so even at a hard position to make a defensive impact, he has, and he's just such a good hitter. And so I think my answer is Freddie Freeman.
Like I said, there's really no wrong answer. You could name probably up 4 or 5 guys here, and nobody would really bat an eye. And for me, it also feels like an easy answer, but for me, it's Mookie Betts, and mainly because he hadn't done much the first month of the season, and from what he's done from after April, from May on, I mean, he's been the reason or one of the reasons the Dodgers have been that good. And, top of the order, the way he's held it down, bringing the power, getting on base, scoring. Obviously Freddie Freeman and Trey Turner knocking them in a lot of times, but after April, from May 1st to now, he has 17 home runs, 41 RBI, with the 907 OPS. I mean, 15 doubles. He's been that guy. He's scored 44 times in those 54 games, and as we saw, the Dodgers. When Mookie goes, the Dodgers go, and now he has a little bit more backup with Trey Turner and Freddie Freeman and Will Smith, who've all been good throughout the year, and especially Will Smith and Freddie Freeman turning it up the last month or so. But I think it all starts with Mookie, and we even saw that play out in the All-Star game. Mookie Betts got the Dodgers, or got the National League on the board early on, and really put them out in front, and showed that Shane McClanahan is good, but maybe not as good, or at least not, he wasn't that day. So for me, it's Mookie. He's brought the defense back. He's made a lot of great plays. Just getting to baseballs. He's made some good plays throwing the baseball, and yeah, it feels weird to have such an easy answer because who are the most important Dodgers? Oh, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. Like, oh yeah, no wonder. But also, it's a matter of, with Max Muncy struggling, with Cody Bellinger struggling, with these other guys that have Justin Turner struggling the first 2.5 months of the season, with everybody else down, they needed the Stars to step up, and that's what the Stars did. And then everyone else is starting to slowly catch up, get better, and we see how that played out the last few weeks, because the Dodgers went from being way behind the Yankees for top record in baseball, and falling behind the Mets for top record in the NL, to being right behind the Yankees for top record, and starting to distance themselves a little bit in top record overall and in the division.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you could make a good case for it. I guess we're going position players. I was going to say at least three other guys, probably at most three other guys too. Trey Turner really held things down when Mookie was out with injury. And when you can lose Mookie Betts and not miss a beat at the leadoff spot, that's pretty huge. Will Smith has just been consistent, and especially when you factor in, some people like to factor in the fact that Will Smith is making a ton less money than Freeman and Betts and Trey, and then Gavin Lux at the bottom of the order, being that second leadoff man and being better than most people expected him to be. Not better than I expected him to be, but better than most people expected him to be. I think you can make cases for those three guys. And when you have a team, when you have Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and there are three other guys, you can say, well, there's an argument for him too. That's a pretty good indicator of a good team.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Let's stick with position players and look forward to the second half. You can pick a player that you think is going to be the best over the second half. You can pick somebody, make a bold prediction. You can do both. Leave the floor open to you on this one.
I think Will Smith is really going to shine. I think Smith, I don't expect Freddie to really take much. Obviously, like I said, he's not going to bat 700, but I think Will Smith, had a lot of bad luck this first half and still had some good results. I think he's just such a consistent hitter. I think he's right up there with Freeman as far as best pure hitter on the team. And I think we're going to see Will Smith really shine over the second half.
That's a good call. And I think this is more hopeful wishing than maybe seeing anything that would point to it. But I want Max Muncy to have a strong second half. I don't need him to be. I don't even need him to be the Max Muncy of old. I just need him to be like 60, 70% of what that Max Muncy was. And this lineup, which has already been dangerous, which is already one of the best offenses in baseball, if not the best, this lineup just takes that step. It elevates. We talked about Max Muncy in the past, having him 2018, that first breakout year. And we talked about the time, like if the Dodgers had him in 2017, they would have won the World Series despite of what the Astros did. So he's a guy that can flip that lineup to a little bit top heavy, not top heavy, but very strong at the top and weak in the middle, and then strong at the bottom to strong all around. So I'm hoping for a good Max Muncy.
I believe it's coming. I believe Muncy is going to be roughly what we expect from him over the second half, and that his overall season numbers will still look bad. But if he can bat 250 with 15 home runs the rest of the season, only puts him at 24 home runs for the season, probably only gets his batting average up right around 200. And that looks like a down year, but it could be huge for the Dodgers to get kind of typical Max Muncy back.
Yeah, he won't have the overall numbers that he's had on the back of a sports card, but that doesn't matter as long as he helps the Dodgers into the World Series. But that was my attempt at a transition into, if you are into sports cards, you need to check out the Sports Card Investor app because it's the world of sports card reimagined. It's the hobby's most powerful resource. You can quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit from the hobby you love. It is free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, and it's a must have for all baseball fans. You can easily browse over 630,000 cards from every sport with more added each week. You can check their latest values with 7-day and 30-day charts, and you can find the best prices and buy directly through the app with their eBay deals feature. If you're not into sports cards, maybe this is the way you can get in. You can, look for some sports cards, look for some players that you might want, and start your collection there. Or you can just go buy some bigger collections or buy some, card packs, and then make some money on the other way if you don't want them after all. So get the Sports Card Investor app today. It's available for free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, or you can go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. Which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Starting July 18th, Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from odds makers at BetOnline. Available July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get podcasts, and on YouTube. All right, Jeff. Moving on to the pitching, and another one of those where there's multiple names, and we're probably not going to have the same name here. And yeah, let's start it out with best pitcher, or top pitcher, or whatever it is we're calling this, from the Dodgers in the first half.
Yeah, this is another one where you could, depending on how you want to make your case. There's I think Tony Gonsolin has been probably the best pitcher for them so far this year, or at least when you factor in quantity and quality. Um, but yeah, I guess. I guess just for, if we were handing out an award, best pitcher of the first half for the Dodgers, I think I'd give it to Tony Gonsolin.
Yeah, and that's where we can kind of manipulate this because it's our podcast. So best pitcher, yeah, Tony Gonsolin was the best pitcher of the first half. I'll go on and say most important pitcher, and it's kind of for me a tie between two, but I'll go with Tyler Anderson because what the Dodgers came into the season with was Walker Buehler, Julio, Kershaw, Andrew Heaney, and then Tony Gonsolin, Tyler Anderson, Mitch White, even Andre Jackson, Ryan Pepio, kind of in the mix for the fifth spot and beyond. And when the season went into it, he was not in this actual starting rotation. He was kind of part of it, piggybacking off Gonsolin, but he wasn't part of it with Walker Buehler not being as good and then getting hurt, Andrew Heaney getting hurt, Clayton Kershaw being hurt. And, Gonsolin and Anderson have been the two guys. And for Tyler Anderson on a 1-year, $8 million deal, you get the value. He was an all-star. We talked about him when they signed him, and it wasn't a flashy pick, but what I said at the time was he's a guy that's going to go out every 5 days if you need him to and give you 5 or 6 innings of around 4 or 5 ERA. And that's more than you can ask for out of a number 5 starter. And so far to this point, he's been better than that. And even if he does regress a little bit in the second half, like we, talked about Gonsolin before, even if he regresses to a 4 or 5 ERA, that's still what the Dodgers can ask for out of a number 5 starter, as long as he's giving them some length every 5 days. So I think he's been, one of the more important parts, if not the most important part of this all, just because he's given them the innings they need with everyone else kind of moving around or being hurt.
Yeah. And honestly, it wasn't another starting pitcher that I almost went with. I actually almost went with Evan Phillips because Evan Phillips has been remarkably good. He's thrown the second most innings of any Dodgers reliever behind only Brusdar Graterol, and he's been much, much better than Brusdar Graterol. He's been effectiveness-wise, it's either him or Yency Almonte, I think, that you make the case as the best Dodgers reliever. And Phillips has thrown 10 and a third more innings than Almonte. And so combine that quality and that quantity, and just the unexpected. I know Phillips was really good in the postseason last year, kind of picked it up after the Dodgers picked him up at the end of last year. But I don't think anybody came into this year thinking, yeah, Evan Phillips, that guy, he is going to do big things. Even if you believe that last October was real, you still come into it with a little bit of hesitation. And Evan Phillips is just that dude. He is crazy good. And whatever it is, I don't even know. Uh, I would love to have Evan Phillips on this podcast, like just to talk to him about, because I mean, he was a highly regarded prospect and pitcher with a couple different organizations and just never put it together. And, I don't know what it is about coming to the Dodgers that worked out. And there's two ways to get better as a pitcher. Either get better stuff or use your stuff that you have in better ways. And the Dodgers have been pretty successful at both of those, with helping pitchers get better, although it's usually actually improving their stuff. Dodgers are kind of top of the league, I think, in improving pitcher stuff and better than average, but not at the top in helping them, sequencing and throwing their stuff in better ways and at better times. But whatever it is, Evan Phillips has been really, really, really good.
Yeah, that was also my backup guy after Anderson because he's been, not, I wouldn't say the Tyler Anderson of the relievers, but similar spot where he's come in and the Dodgers have yet to really miss Blake Trinan and Daniel Hudson and Tommy Kahnle, because of Evan Phillips being able to come in and be that guy. And he's really taken on that role more so in the last few weeks of, with Kimbrel struggling, we've seen them find spots where Evan Phillips can kind of show what he can do in the ninth inning or be that fireman type guy where he can come in the biggest situation of the game. And he's been, a joy. And like we said last time, of him coming from the Rays and then, doing this is just interesting because the Rays are known for also finding pitchers and making them better, or at least putting them in better positions to succeed. So yeah, it would be an interesting one to have him on, and maybe one day we can do that and see what he can say about what happened. But now we look forward to the second half. We've talked about already Gonsolin, and I just mentioned Anderson regressing, but beyond all that, Jeff, who are we looking forward to second half wise, or who's going to be most important, or who are we most excited about?
I believe Clayton Kershaw is going to have the best second half of any Dodger starting pitcher, to the point where I think by the end of the year, Clayton Kershaw will have had the best season of any Dodger starting pitcher. I think he will finish the highest in the Cy Young voting of any Dodger starting pitcher. All of this is assuming he stays healthy. And I know that that's not a totally safe assumption to make with Kershaw these days, but I believe that Kershaw is as good a pitcher as he's ever been. He doesn't have as good a stuff as he did in the past. And so the results, I don't expect him to ever, to actually finish the season with a 1.6 something ERA like he has at times in the past. But I believe that he, between the stuff and just pure knowledge of knowing how to pitch, I think Kershaw, if he can stay healthy, is going to have just a monster second half.
I had the same thought in my mind, so I'll go to what I'm excited to see in the second half from the pitching. And it's Dustin May. Dustin May recently threw for the first time in a game over there in Arizona, and he made it out. He was fine from all reports that we've heard, looking back to normal-ish. And I'm looking forward to seeing it in, we've gotten that question every time we've done a mailbag of how are the Dodgers going to use them and anything else. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, I think they're going to have him. The plan is to stretch him out to be a starter, and then he'll fill in wherever they need him based on, what they need. If they need a reliever, if they need a starter, if they need a bridge guy, if they need whatever, they'll fill him in there. But I'm excited to see Dustin back out there because, the Dodgers have had guys that throw hard, Bruce Dargretto being one of them. And, Blake Trinan has movement, Evan Phillips has movement. They have guys that have movement as well. Even Kershaw Slider, has been, featured on Pitching Ninja is kind of the way you go about things these days. But Dustin May is the reason Pitching Ninja exists. He's one of those reasons with that 101 with Tail. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the second half.
I am too. And can you imagine a piggyback start of Dustin May and Tyler Anderson? Two totally different styles. You throw with the opposite hands, totally different repertoires and everything. Like, I can't imagine being a hitter and coming up and facing Dustin May and then facing Tyler Anderson, or vice versa. I think they could be a pretty cool tandem if Dustin May's only stretched out to go 3 or 4 innings.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking forward to. Now let's talk about Built Bars. You can look forward to getting some Built Bars in the mail if you purchase them, and you can look forward to them being the coconut brownie chunk puff, because the people who invented healthy and tasty, they've brought you another gift, and it's not the coconut brownie chunk Built Bar, which is already good, but they've given it the Puffs treatment. That's right, coconut brownie chunk puff, covered in 100% real chocolate, a fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. And they're also low calorie, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, all delicious. Can be good for any type of diet you're into. And it gives you some collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you, but they're only here for a limited time. Don't wait on it. Go get it now. Delicious coconut rich wheat brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fantasizing. Go to built.com and order your box right now. And if you use the promo code LOCK15, you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, Jeff, let's close out the episode looking back once more before we get started on this second quote unquote half. As we know, it's not necessarily directly in half, but we look at some of our favorite moments or some of the best moments from the first half. Now, we watch a lot of Dodgers baseball, and they don't, we're going to talk about some moments right now, and we're going to miss some moments. So if we miss moments, you can feel free to tell us. But Jeff, let's talk about some fun moments from the first half.
Yeah, one of the great things about being a Dodger fan, I mean, they've won 60 games, and even some of their losses had some cool moments in them. Like, Dodgers have had a ton of moments. This is a 30 minutes a day podcast. That's why we do it every day, because we've talked about a lot of these moments. But one that really stands out to me still is that walk-off against the Rockies. Mookie Betts had the walk-off fielder's choice, the chopper over the mound. But the reason that that one really stands out to me is because of the way it started. And I know we spent some time talking about this that night on our podcast. It started with a Cody Bellinger single. And when you come up, it's the bottom of the ninth inning in a tie game. Craig Kimbrell had just pitched a 1-2-3 top of the ninth, which shouldn't be as newsworthy as maybe it has been this first half when your closer throws a 1-2-3 inning. But Bellinger comes up in a tie game, and Bellinger is a guy who has hit some walk-off home runs. He's even hit a walk-off home run off Daniel Bard, if I remember right. And I never did check that, but if I remember right, that's who was pitching when he hit that one in 2020 that he didn't know where it went. He didn't know it had cleared the wall. So you have to think Bellinger's coming up thinking, oh, I got this guy's number and I can end this game with one swing. And instead, he hit a nice hard line drive base hit. He didn't try to destroy the ball. And of all the people, that's another thing that shouldn't be that notable, that your major league hitter was able to stay within himself and just get a base hit, knowing that's what they needed. But with Cody Bellinger, sometimes it is notable. And so getting that, and then Gavin Lux, anytime Gavin Lux is involved in a rally, it makes me happy because I've been on the Lux train for so long. So to have that rally started by a Bellinger single and then a Lux single to send Bellinger to third, and then Will Smith gets involved and I love Will Smith. And ultimately, and Will Smith is a guy who's had a ton of walk-offs, had his 5th career walk-off 2 days later, but coming up there and, working a walk and passing the baton to Mookie Betts. And yeah, I mean, basically nobody out at that point. Yeah, you're going to win that game one way or another. Even this Dodgers team, I know people like to joke that Dodgers basically nobody out. It's terrible, but they've actually been pretty good in that situation this year. And so everything about that rally made me happy. I think the only thing that would have been better is if Mookie had, ripped a line drive to left center instead of a chopper. But even the chopper was it's kind of charming knowing, look, Mookie, all you got to do, if you hit the ball, the Dodgers are going to win this game because you got speed on third, just put the ball in play. And he did. And it was a beautiful thing. So that one really stands out in my mind.
Yeah, walk-offs are always fun. Dodgers have 3 of them. Those are, obviously some top moments from the season. I think for me, and it's kind of, opened the season and opened the first half and kind of closed out the first half. And that's, Kershaw's both times going 7 innings of perfect ball. And the first one was a little bit different because you knew he wasn't going to finish it, because you knew that he wasn't going to throw, too many pitches. And the last one was, you had to think, oh, he can do this. He's got the right pitch count. The Angels aren't that good. If he can get past Ohtani the 3rd time, and Trout's not playing, so he has a good chance at it. And it's one of those where, with Kershaw getting older and being a different style of pitcher that he is, it's one of those things where, it's something you don't think we're ever going to see again. A Kershaw no hitter, a Kershaw perfect game. We know Kershaw can pitch well, and he can still give you 6-7 innings of shutout or 1-run ball, whatever it is. But it's one of those things where you don't think you're going to see it, and that just proves that he can still do it. So it gives you hope for when you go to some more Kershaw starts. Personally, if you're there going to the game, or it gives you a little bit more incentive to watch games when Kershaw starts because he still has the stuff, the ability to get guys to swing and miss, get guys with weak contact, and have a special night where he can make some baseball history.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that stands out to me is the comeback win against the Cardinals. The day after the Dodgers had tried to come back and couldn't quite complete it because they couldn't get anything in with bases loaded, nobody out, like we just talked about. But this one, Tony Gonsolin's first bad start of the season. He's on the hook. He's probably going to lose his first game of the year. And it's, oh man, it would have been cool to go into the All-Star break 11-0. And then the Dodgers just battle back, and score, what was it, 7 runs in the last 3 innings with, the whole Austin Barnes falling down debacle that ended up being a blessing in disguise. That game was just fun. It was a lot of it's one that I've watched the recap on the MLB TV app on my Apple TV probably 6 or 8 times. My boys and I love watching recaps on there, and that's one we've watched over and over because there was just a lot of fun stuff in that. My only gripe with that recap is it doesn't actually show Will Smith's 2-run homer to start the scoring for the Dodgers in the 7th. But other than that, it's a really good recap, and it was a fun game.
Yeah, I usually like to wait for the condensed games because they're longer and they usually show more of the stuff that happens. But yeah, I mean there's a lot to get into. We had one. We put out a call on Twitter. Haven't got much yet, but there is one of Hanser Alberto coming in to pitch in the doubleheader that the Dodgers had against the D-backs. I'm assuming, yeah, that's the one they had at home. And position players pitching is something the Dodgers have seen a lot in recent years, or MLB in general. But it's just a quick conversation of it's only fun when you're up by a lot. It's not fun when you're down by a lot. So the Hands Alberto one is fun because the Dodgers were up by a lot, and anytime the Dodgers can, steal an inning with a position player when they're winning by 12, 13, 14 runs or whatever, that's always fun.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as good as, Russell Martin did that in wins a couple times. And if I remember right, both of his were scoreless outings. Hanser Alberto allowed a run, which is still disappointing. Justin Turner, when he pitched last year, that was in a loss, wasn't it?
I believe, yeah, it was.
So, yeah, I think for me, Russell Martin is the gold standard of position players pitching because it happened in wins and he didn't allow any runs. So it's the best of every world. And I got to see the first one I was there in person for.
Yeah. The other moment from position player pitching, maybe not a best moment, was when the Dodgers tried to put in a position player, but weren't down by enough, and that caused a lot of hubbub when they played the Mets that one time. So that was a moment that stands out, not necessarily a positive moment, I guess, but
yeah. Let's just only have big leads and never have big deficits, and then we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot, and it's hard to remember them all, especially somebody that covers them the way we do. But Walker Buehler's complete game shutout was a fun one at the time. We thought, okay, when Walker Buehler back on track. Unfortunately, it didn't quite lead that way, but it was still fun at the time. His first one, you could tell how much it meant to him, and that's another one that stands out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, a team this good, there's been so many good moments, and you look at, the whole schedule. They've won a lot of games, and that going 5-2 against the Padres, that right there, there's a lot of fun memories in there, and hopefully they will build a lot more in the second half because I expect them to be at least as good in the second half as they were in the first half.
Yeah, that's all we can ask for. All right, Jeff. Dodgers are back tomorrow. 4-game set with the Giants. That'll be fun. Cody Bellinger bobblehead for those of you that are in the bobbleheads tonight. And yeah, we'll a lot of games with the Giants and Padres here in the second half of the season. Luckily, the Dodgers have built up enough of a lead. You talked about it, yesterday of just how good the Padres would have to play and how bad the Dodgers would have to play in order for them to catch up. But they can continue to separate themselves and push them further down. And that's always fun if the Dodgers can do that. But anything else before we head out?
Nope, nope. Like I said, we'll talk draft tomorrow, and hopefully I have time to talk a little bit about the Dodgers-Giants game, but we'll definitely be talking about the draft for sure.
Yeah, so that's what's on tap for tomorrow. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Check out Locked On MLB Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby. He's a prospect encyclopedia and he's going deep on the MLB stars tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube by searching for Locked On Dodgers. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. You can find Jeff on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vince Samperio. DMs are open on all those accounts if you need to get a hold of us. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-LOCK. That's 5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. Terrace My Device Play Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We did it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.